something our government's working on that they ain't telling us about.
It's humongous. There's a photograph on there, not from the moon, but of an actual tunnel boring machine, just to give you an idea of the size of some of these machines. That one, it shows you in the background scaffolding that goes up several stories.
It's hard to say, but it's definitely something that makes me look more now that I'm starting to pay more attention.
Well, I'm going to put you back on hold.
Beth, I thought we were going to have Ron with us tonight. What happened to that?
Apparently Ron had to work, and he
great.
said he would try to get back on time, but he wasn't sure he was going to make it.
Discussing on the new show before this, a guy was doing a thing on UFOs, and I don't know if you guys listened to that show. He had quite a long discussion on different perspectives. Did you guys happen to tune in for that?
No, I didn't listen to that, but most of the UFOs you see today are stuff that we built, that we have, that we're flying. It's not the aliens themselves. They rarely show themselves. You rarely see a bona fide extraterrestrial so-called flying saucer. All that stuff you see, the Phoenix lights, the stuff in Chicago, the stuff from China, all that is stuff that we made and that we operate. That's not ET.
I tend to agree with him on that because...
what do you mean by you guys made it? What do you mean by that?
It's human construction. Now, it doesn't mean that we didn't get that technology from extraterrestrials, but that our scientists have actually developed without our knowledge, without admitting it, at least to the general public.
We started our construction in 1953, and I think that we worked about 6 years on developing the anti-grav technology. I know that my father was involved in that, and I think by 1958, 1959, we pretty much had a method of anti-grav, and that's what we used for the vehicles that we used to go back and forth to the moon in 1962. And, of course, our technology has increased since then, and we've got spacecraft that can do amazing things. We can't do the amazing things that the ETs can do. They can go hundreds of times faster than the speed of light, but we can probably get to the moon in an hour. We can probably get to Mars in maybe, I don't know, probably 12 hours, something like that. We can really hustle right along there.
Okay, I'm going to put him back on hold. We have another call. Hello? You're on Ancient Future Radio.
Hello?
Hello.
How you doing?
Fine, how are you? Who's calling?
This is Tim in Hudson, North Carolina.
Well, hello.
I would like to ask John a question. It might be slightly off topic, but maybe not. I hope not. As an abductee, what is it that the aliens are really looking for when they abduct humans?
What you need to do, is it Tim?
Yeah.
Tim, what you need to do is you need to go to that above.secret.com and look at a thread by Sleeper. It's called I'm Coming Clean on Extraterrestrials. And he has really a lot of good information that it would really be beneficial to you to read if you are a true abductee. And I'm sure that if you say you are, you are. But you should go to that thread and take a look at it. There would be some very good information for you.
Right. I had talked to Mike Kaiser, and he had hooked me up with Daryl Sims, and I've done a lifelong study on this stuff because it has to do with my family. My dad was head of the narcotics division and a policeman for over 25 years, and when he was younger, he saw a UFO that was it was cigar-shaped, and it was about 150 feet long, and no, it wasn't. He said it was about the size of a football field, I'm sorry, and it was about 150 feet above him. And my sister and I both had something that happened to us when I was about 19 years old, and I've pretty much can accept it, but when I try to talk to her about it, she kind of flips out.
Yeah, that happens. You try and talk to
like
people
she has
close.
a screensaver or something. She gets mad when you start talking about it.
Right. Right, and they're abductees themselves. They don't want to remember it, and you don't need not to bring it up to them or force them to, because each one deals with it by themselves on a one-to-one basis. And,
right.
But if you are interested in information, I would go to this thread.
And now you're saying Mike Heiser gave you counsel on that.
Yeah, Michael sent me an email. I emailed him after Art Bell, and he hooked me up with Daryl Sims, and I talked with Daryl over a week or two on the phone, asking questions and things, and he sent a test to me that I took and sent it back to him and all that stuff.
It's a very controversial topic, and the advice that's given regarding it varies greatly.
Yeah,
Some
it sure
people,
does. It seems like an ever-ending, just vicious circle that you go into. You seem like you get an answer pretty close to it, and then something else comes up.
Right. Well, I think that for a lot of people, it has been a pretty traumatic experience. I have never personally been abducted to my knowledge, but it does seem that people who do have these experiences are not very happy about it when they start remembering. So to me, this to me sounds kind of fishy, like there's an ulterior motive on the that maybe we don't understand, or maybe we don't have enough information about. I know that Linda Moulton Howe, talks about cattle mutilation, and I think that this kind of ties in a lot to the abduction question, because people are frequently violated during these abductions in various ways, not necessarily sexual, but reproductively.
Yeah.
Like maybe they removed something like an egg or sperm. This is not something that people are gladly giving up without their permission.
The biggest thing that bothered me was that it doesn't fit into a box. It just doesn't fit into a box. Floating across a room just doesn't fit in a box, and you keep going over and over in your mind, but you know it happened to you, but you really don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I worked in designing nuclear equipment and had a major place here in North Carolina, and had could go in 676 feet underground and 676 feet above the ground, and but yet that happened to me, and it just, like I said, it just doesn't fit in a box.
No.
You don't know how to deal with it. It's a vicious circle. You keep going back to that night that it happened, and you try to analyze it and try to just to try to figure out, and it doesn't make any sense. And
well, it's interesting that you mentioned, and I wonder what John thinks about this, that you worked in a capacity for, well, it seems like that would be kind of a sensitive, top secret type of information itself, working in the nuclear.
Well, I basically worked in process control. I drew the piping and things that went into it, which was it was something that was really, it made me feel good, you know.
Yeah.
Being a country boy, to be able to work on that kind of stuff, and I thrived on it. But after we finished the construction of it, there wasn't another job to go to, so it just kind of left me hanging.
I wonder if they tag certain people for abduction, and if it's our government doing it or extraterrestrials, or both.
Both.
Okay.
Both. Our government does a lot of abductions, and the ET do a lot of abductions.
Okay, now, how do you differentiate between those two? I think the listener, the caller, would probably be interested in that.
You know, I don't remember. I read something about it, how you could differentiate, but I just don't remember. I believe that Sleeper was the one that came up with how to differentiate between it.
Well, then that should be an interesting read.
And the problem with reading and stuff so much is you have one side saying one thing and another side saying the other thing, and then you have to try to find the truth out there. There's so much stuff that isn't true, and then there is truth, and you have to read it all and try to figure out what the truth is from a lie.
Right.
Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, it makes total sense.
And that keeps somebody like myself that knows something that happened to them, but yet they can't really talk about it because the church don't deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. It's more than they can deal with.
Right.
And I find that a lot of shows out there, they really don't deal with it either. You can't. They tell both sides of it. And if somebody really had just the truth, it would help a lot of folks that's like myself, that are just normal country guys that would just like to know what's going on.
And well, you bring up a good point. Unfortunately, at this juncture, all we can do is offer both sides, or as many sides as we possibly can. And I think in the process of discovery, the more information you have, the more likely you're going to find the rabbit trail.
Right.
No?
Well, I enjoyed the show tonight so far, and I was trying to get it on, to help folks like myself, that have real questions, and instead of, I don't know how to put it in words. I just called on the spur of the moment thing, and I just happened to get through.
Well, thanks for calling.
And thank you very much.
All right. Bye.
Now, Beth, next time we do the show, we're going to have to talk about the work you did on the crater Tsiolkovsky.
Oh, yes, that was very interesting.
And the moon was towed into orbit many thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago, placed in orbit in rotational lock by somebody. And the machine that towed it here was stored on the backside of the moon, and you helped find it. And we found it in the crater Tsiolkovsky. It's disguised as an island, which is a pretty good disguise, but you uncovered it, and you found it's a gigantic machine. I think it's the machine that towed the moon into orbit. I don't think you think that, right?
Well, I'm under the impression that if it is a machine that towed it into orbit, that in addition to the machine, they've actually built a mining operation in the same spot, because not only did I see evidence of a bucket wheel, the ground in the area where these clouds of I don't know, I guess they're clouds, mist, steam, smoke, there's a streak of orange along the floor of the crater that you can tell is some kind of a residue, like a rusty residue, which suggests scientifically. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, are we coming pretty close to the end?
Oh no, we can go over as long as up to an hour over.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, continue. Isn't it suggests scientifically that the smoke contains rust is only present when you have two things: iron and air.
Right.
So, I mean, what's this rusty streak on the ground? If there's not an atmosphere, and obviously the crater is a good place for iron.
Right.
So I'm assuming that would be like an iron mining operation. That's just my assumption.
Anyway, it's a very interesting, whatever it is, NASA went to a great deal of effort to make that thing look like an island. And
they sure did.
And you helped uncover it and expose it, and several little hints led us to that thing, and I think even NASA themselves made the mistake in little thumbnail photographs they had of not